Sugar VK2PW.
Oh, yeah, and once we get these demodulators in, the one thing that I will be doing is there is a TRS output on one of them. I'm not sure if it's TRS or is it just the mono out, and they will allow me then to feed that into another channel on the sound card, and I can record my audio in my audio out of the antenna port, same as yours. So right now on the OBS, it's obvious that what's it called? That you are on air signal, and I'm 20 kilohertz signal that's just recorded straight into the sound card over.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. See, that's the difference. So there's a way for me to actually record my digital out, so I don't end up with that 20 kilohertz recording. Yeah, you hear the output. I should actually be selecting that in Audacity, and that will record this mic. And then when I'm finished, I just quickly combine the two together because they line up. I've got a way to line them up. I just say click, and I do something on the screen so I see that, and then just I've got the two audios, but because it's better if the audio is the radio's audio. Yeah, you don't want your 20 kilohertz wide perfect audio coming out, and then in the video you end up being compared to your 4.5 or 6 kilohertz audio. You just kind of want that perfect audio, from what the radio hears and what I hear, them to sound mostly the same, you know what I mean? Victor Kilo 5 Radio Sugar VK2PW.
Yeah, that's exactly that's the reasoning behind it, because right now when you look at it, you're right, because you're gonna hear this audio, you're gonna say, yeah, that sounds good, but that's not transmitted audio. That's just the full bandwidth, high fidelity that comes out of the rack into the sound card, and then you hear yourself at 6K, which is obviously chalk and cheese, purely for the bandwidth reasons. But anyway, we know that it's there. But the sound is pretty good. Awesome. I think the best you ever sounded. That cleaned up a lot of mess. And believe it or not, when we said goodbyes this morning, I didn't leave. I just stayed here and I was mucking around with the DEQ, and I made some cuts on 77 and I think 1K as well. So I've increased the cut on 77, so that should have removed a fair bit of that rumble, and should have brought it back to a more natural side there, Adam. VK2 Papa Whiskey, VK5 Radio Sugar, over.
Yeah, VK2RS, VK2PW. I can actually see it because when I look at the waterfall, you're very, very even across the board between your lows, your mids, and your upper mids. And the only section that is lacking is the highs, but I've learnt from bitter disappointment to leave that well enough alone, because that high end, if you balance that high end and make that solid all the way through to the high end, you sound so bright and spitty and brittle, it just sounds ridiculous. So it's really nice that there's just kind of like this layer of silky touching on the top end, you know what I mean, just to add the clarity. And there's more than enough clarity. Like, there's no way in the world I would say to you, can you increase your high end because you sound muffled or anything. It's crystal clear. So you just leave it alone, and it sounds quite good. And I just don't worry about what that looks like on the waterfall. You just end up chasing your tail. VK2RS, VK2PW.
Yeah, well, I think we're there. I've just zoomed in on your signal, so you can actually see the entire range there visually. And you're right. There is definitely a low end dominance, but it's well balanced. It's that slightly angled line, which is the pink line shape. Or decline or slope, should I say? But it looks pretty nice. Looks sexy and attractive. And there's no splatter. There's no any distortion that I can see. No artifacts whatsoever. So I think you've done a good job. But sometimes I actually, one thing that I'm gonna learn out of this experience is that sometimes you just have to leave it. Leave it for a week, 2-3 weeks, whatever, and just listen to it. And then one day you'll realize, I better cut, a bit here and a bit there, and just make some improvements. Because then after a week or two or three, when you get used to the sound, a slightest little change would make a lot of sense. So yeah, stop sending me messages. Um, I need to disable that pop-up as well. All right, VK2PW, VK5, ready your sugar.